Hey everybody, welcome back to the Complete Game Podcast. I'm your host, Curt Schilling. He is our co-host, Garrick Schilling. What's up, G? Nice throwback, little Phillies throwback going on. I like that.
Yep.
More, dude, we've got trending in both directions in every possible way right now. And Brewers. I mean, the pick. There's a lot to get to. Let's just catch everybody up on where the game is at right now.
Yeah, sure thing. Tuesday night, just want to give a quick shout out on, even though the Mets are in a downward spiral right now, Pete Alonso became the franchise leader for home runs, so just wanted to give him a quick shout out. I think it was
What is he?
253 he passed.
What do they call him? The polar bear? What is he?
Yeah, the polar bear,
Polar
Pete
bear.
Alonso.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
And then after our show Tuesday, we had the AL and NL West tied between the Mariners and the Astros and the Dodgers and the Padres. As of right now, the Dodgers are a game back and the Mariners are a game and a half back. But what I wanted to really get into is we're getting down to halfway through August 15th, month and a half left of the regular season, and we're looking at two teams in the AL, I think, and three teams in the NL that are absolutely going to be in the playoffs. And I wanted to get your opinion on the four guys that are looking at wild card spots or just on the outside looking in. So for the American League, which is a little shorter list, I think the two teams that are absolutely going to make the playoffs are the Blue Jays and Tigers. And then in the wild card spots right now is Houston, Boston, Seattle, and New York. So if you had to take one out,
Right. Well, you've got the
you
Blue
don't
Jays
have to. 6 teams make it, but
right. No, you've got the Blue Jays and Tigers winning the East and the Central, which I think is comfortable lock. And then you've got the Astros in the mix as a wild card. But I think the Astros end up winning that division, although the Josh Hader news could change that. I would be comfortable saying Toronto, Detroit, Seattle win their divisions. If I'm trying to pick who's the team on the outside looking in,
the Guardians are a half game back, and the Rangers are
yeah,
3.5 back right now. I
I
have the
got
Rangers. I picked them on our show a while back, but
I
they can't seem to string together 10 good
yeah,
games, 5 good
I'm not.
games.
Well, let's talk about it. The Guardians are a half game behind the Yankees in the wild card. 6 games over 500 with a minus 22 run differential. They lost their closer, who him and what is it, Lopez, the other pitcher that got caught possibly for the gambling thing. We won't see them, I don't think, the rest of the year. Pretty big hole to fill. I wouldn't be adverse to saying the logical Mariners, Red Sox, Yankees lock up the wild cards, and those are the 6 teams. And the one team that, if I was going to put money on a team right now that isn't in a playoff spot that I think could make it or will make it, I'd probably in the American League do it with the Rangers. I think that pitching wise, they're solid. They're at 500 with a plus 57 run differential, which tells you what we've talked about. They're losing close games, or their bullpens on hold leads.
That's better
Um,
than two of the division leaders in the American League right now,
right,
by the way.
right. So, yeah, I think the Rangers would be the team, and I got to tell you, I don't know, I hate to say it, but I think the Red Sox are riding so much good karma right now. But I could see the Red Sox being the team that would be Mariners, Yankees, Rangers. I could see as the 3 wild cards.
Okay. I
And
guess we can jump ahead real quick because we had some questions, and one of them 2 episodes ago was from Harry Schiller. Has Curt revised his opinion on the Red Sox? If Bello and Giolito can continue to pitch well, their young offense could carry them.
yeah, Giolito and Bello have both been good. Crochet is, the guy that's going to stop your streaks. Young players are just unpredictable. I want to see them in because I want to see the young guys get that exposure. Chapman's been solid. Bullpen's been okay. I don't believe that your offense doesn't carry you through October. Rarely. I mean, that's a once a decade kind of thing. Back when the final decade of my career, the only World Series I can remember being won by a team because they just pounded the ball was the I think it was the 2002 Angels beating the Giants. They had a monstrous lineup and hammered the ball. You got to pitch your way to the postseason, to the trophy. I've said before, I'm going to stick to it. I just don't feel that roster is built to win all those games in October. If they did, it wouldn't surprise me, but they wouldn't be somebody I would pick. I think they're set up for the next couple of years if they can go out and if they develop the number 2 guy behind Crochet, they're going to be a daunting team because I do believe those young guys are legit. But I'm not going to revise it. I don't, and again, could be wrong. I don't see them being this hot for the next 8 weeks. They're 5-5 over the last 10. They're kind of little coming back to earth and, things like that. But young teams are very emotional, and that can be a great thing or it can be a deterrent, right? But having a guy, this is what you brought Alex Bregman in for. He's that even keel in the clubhouse. And, I can remember we had just in 93, we had just swept the Cardinals, and it was a big series, and we had won an emotional game. And I can remember Darren Dalton standing up and saying, "Hey, nobody pops off in the paper. Nobody says anything. We have a game tomorrow. Let's just stay." It was kind of those, like, not letting you get out of control. And I think that's an Alex Bregman thing. I think that's why they brought him there. And I think that's where he's going to be monumental and instrumental in helping them stay on that even keel. And Alex Cora is that way too. Alex is not a guy who will go too high or too low, and I think that's something you need. But I could definitely see them floating back to the pack, and it's going to the Rangers. My God, DeGrom and Scherzer, and I mean they have been. Max is coming around, but Jacob has been his old self. Their bullpen's been good, and they have young nucleus as well. So, yeah, I would be okay with Houston, Detroit, Toronto walking away with their division, Seattle, New York, and Texas. I could even see a scenario where Boston and New York both don't make it, because the vibe out of New York doesn't feel good to me.
No, the opposite of the
And
Red Sox vibe.
yeah.
It's a very rainy time in New York all around, National League
What?
and American League.
Right. And you know what? I get with as much bad karma coming out of the Yankee clubhouse, not the clubhouse, but from just the way they're playing and not performing, the Red Sox, as hot as they've been, are still only a game and a half up, which that changes in a weekend. So that this is when, I think this is when guys like Theo Epstein and general managers who were sabermetrically driven started to realize that the Mirabellis and the David Rosses mattered. This is when they matter. In the dog days of August, when you land in Toronto at 4 a.m. and you have to go through customs, you just came off playing ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, you're miserably tired, you lost by 7, everybody's mad, and somebody like Dougie stands up on the back of the bus, says something, everybody laughs their ass off, and you just kind of relax.
Glue guy.
This is where those guys are having that impact.
For sure. That feels like it in across the aisle in the National League. We just talked about them a little bit. The Mets, who have been on just an absolute downward spiral. I was watching the Mets Mariners game before I hopped on here, and it was 6-5 Mets over the Mariners, and they wouldn't you know it, they flash on the screen. The Mets have lost 13 of their last 15 games. 8 have blown leads, and as the graphic disappears, blue fly into right center field. The guy gets around and they tie, and then go ahead on the very next batter. And now I'm watching it right now. They're down 11-6. Every single guy they've gone out and acquired at the deadline, and guys they've had there for years as a staple in that bullpen with Ryan Stanek and Edwin Diaz. They can't get anyone to get any serviceable work right now. Ryan Helsley struggled tonight. He ended up blowing the lead. It's just it's a mess.
Well, and you'd like to think with an eight-man bullpen, you're going to find somebody. But that's they talk about, like, in combat, the biggest fear in combat is fear. Fear spreads quickly in combat. It's the same thing in the bullpens. The phone rings and everybody's kind of like hesitant to jump up and hope, and
don't want to get called on in class by the teacher.
Or you have 7 or 8 guys trying to be somebody they're not. And I'll go in, I'll be the guy. And this is a byproduct, again, of something. I know it sounds like a broken record, but pitching in baseball is broken. And the move and reliance on bullpens has dramatically shifted. Like I said, feels like 80% of the trades at the deadline involved relievers. Everybody was rebuilding and building and rebuilding bullpens, and so we saw some very good prospects get moved for relievers, which was never a thing, years ago. And now you've got team. It's what I said. We were talking before the show, and I said this. You can go from having a rotation that eats a ton of innings to, in the dog days, they're not getting as many, and then you kind of lean on your bullpen. You can't do the reverse. You can't be a team who all year relies on 3 to 4 innings a night from your bullpen. Suddenly in August, you got to say, okay, we can't do that anymore. Your starters have to go 7 or 8 because their pitch counts aren't up there. The pitchers aren't taught to do those things. And that's one of the things that's going to bite these teams in the ass is I told you that, right? Losing 25-2, you go to Monday. Losing 8-7 after having a 7-3 lead is devastating. And we're seeing a ton of those games. And it's because
it's half of them.
Because we're seeing these teams that are reliant on bullpens that have no pitchers. You've got 7 guys who, yes, they all throw 100, but on their, teams are rallying and coming back, not by putting together 7 hits. It's putting together 3 hits around 5 walks. And that is, I know that's kind of a micro look at it, but that's where this pitching thing is so broken, and you can't reverse that trend now. You can't suddenly go to your starters and say, okay, listen, guys, we need 7 innings and 150 pitches from you guys all week long, because they haven't done it all year, and they haven't done it in the minor leagues.
Well, it's all, we are also talking about how it's a shorter leash nowadays because of the way that playoffs are played now. Even if you're
the eagerness to go to the bullpen is in New York, I don't imagine they're excited about grabbing the phone right now to call down because they're not sure who to call. And what a horrible feeling. It's, like I said, especially for the position players, and nobody feels worse than the pitchers, but it's playing out and we're watching it. And
we were reading I was watching the game and they threw another graphic up there while we were talking about the pitching woes. They're 19-33 for the 3rd lowest win percentage in baseball since June 13th. 19 blown leads in that time, the most in Major League Baseball.
That's kind of ridiculous, actually.
And to top it off and make your point, 232 2/3 innings for starters, fewest in Major League Baseball. 224 innings pitched for the bullpen, second most in baseball in that time. So, and we're talking about right now how they went out and made moves to make sure that bullpen was what they needed to be if they needed to go to it early like they have, and it's just gone completely ass backwards.
Yeah.
So in the National League, I have the Phillies, Brewers, and Padres as my only sure down locks, and I say Padres instead of the Dodgers right now just because I personally like what they did the most out of most of these teams in terms of their trade deadline acquisitions and how they've transitioned to wins and playing good. So I had the Dodgers, Mets, Reds, and Cubs on that cusp if you had to take one out of there, because one of those teams is not going to make it.
Well, part of me has been around Tito long enough to know he'll have his team playing loose, which is not a small thing. I don't know. And part of me wants to see Ellie De La Cruz playing in October. Cubs, I feel comfortable with. They're struggling a little bit right now, but I think that club the makeup of that club, that's kind of one of my sleeper World Series champion picks. The Dodgers have to make the postseason, don't they?
I just don't think that. Yeah, well, yes, but I just don't think. Quickly before we move on from the Cubs, I just don't think the Cubs have who's the Cubs' number 1 guy if you need a win. That's my thing with them. But is he that guy? I feel like we're gonna find out.
Right. Well, I think we'll find out, and yes, I believe he's that good. Okay. Don't go to sleep on Boyd. He's something, but Imanaga is, to me, well, I mean, look at Boyd's six. By the way, quality starts is a shitty stat, but I really like it, and you can tell, right? Imanaga's got a whip of 0.97, Boyd's 1.02, right? Ben Brown is 5-7, with a 3 quality. I mean, just yeah. So yeah, I'm okay with Boyd and Imanaga, but neither of those guys is a swing and miss, punch out 11 in October kind of pitcher. I don't know that that's that pressing.
That's kind of what I was getting at, because of
Yeah,
if you look at
they
the
don't have
National
a
League,
Tariq
which is the
Skubal,
stronger. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Right,
And we're talking about the National League, where I think there's a couple more Tariq Skubal talents spread
dude.
out across a couple of these teams that are going to make playoffs for sure.
I'm just telling you this. I bet you if you were a fly on the wall of every single conversation for playoff teams, the one team nobody wants to play is going to be the Phillies, because they're going to run 3 starters out at you that can shut you down comfortably for 9 innings. And they've got a bullpen that's finding its way, and offensively they're legit. So, that I can see the Phillies playing the Cubs for the NLCS. I can see the Phillies playing the Brewers. Um, I but the Cubs, I think, are going to win that division. And let's not. I don't know how. I mean, Hunter Green came back and threw really really well in his first start. 6 scoreless, had his stuff, and he's a play-in guy. He's a guy you give the ball to win that game. Um, and I got to tell you, and I could be wrong, but I think that Ellie De La Cruz is a guy who was built to play in front of the bright lights. I can see him doing a Carlos Beltran in October,
Yeah,
right? Stealing
or
15
a
bases, hitting
David
9 home runs,
a
throwing
David
the ball
Ortiz
100.
2013 run where
Yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah.
890 on base
Right.
percentage.
But the only problem is that when you get to October, guys that strike out a lot tend to get exploited. And because teams, and in talking about Hunter Green, you got to talk about Brandon Woodruff for the Brewers. I mean, that's your playing guy. He's coming back. They've got Peralta. I mean,
Peralta
there's a lot of intricacy, I think, and probably a lot of variables when
and
it comes to talking about how the National League's going to wind up. But I don't know about you, but I'm looking at the postseason, and I think the 6 teams in the National League playoffs are going to be infinitely better than the 6 teams in the American League playoffs. Like, I feel like the National League is so much more talented right now from a
well,
top
yeah,
end perspective.
that's why I only gave 2 teams I have in from the American League, because the AL West is a crapshoot right now between the Mariners and the
But,
Astros, and
it's one of
then
those things. I feel like if we were going to say all things have to be fair, uh, and the World Series needs to be between the 2 best teams in each league, I would argue you could have a Phillies/Brewers versus the Tigers. Like, I think the Tigers are the clear class of the American League. And, Skubal, I think, elevates that to a whole different level. But dude, if I'm throwing cash around to make bets, I'm putting a ton of money on Phillies and the Brewers as my favorites to take it all.
the Brewers. We were talking also before the show. And I want you to expand on this answer a little bit. Do you think that, because we talked about, they were 35 and 31 at one point this year. We talk about every show now. They just refuse to lose. You were talking about the
Yeah.
Reds a little bit ago. They were down 8-1 in the second inning today, and they are going to win that game 10-8. It's in the top of the 9th right now. It looks
Well,
like.
they were
What
35
is
and
it
30.
like
Well, they were 35 and 31. This means they've gone 41 and 13 over the
I
last
mean, and
54
there's
games.
2 separate 10-game win streaks in that
Right.
time. It's just
Yeah.
talk
No,
about,
and
like,
that's
for a young team, how is that guys getting comfortable after so long in the bigs now,
well,
or is that
part
just
of that is part of that is Pat Murphy, and we, I know Murph. I'm not sure about Murph as a manager. He clearly knows what he's doing, but the manager keeping things, and I say this, and it's not a saying for my generation, but keeping it real, like
please
guys.
wait right now? I can edit this. I didn't make you watch it before. Watch the pocket pancake thing I sent you about Pat
Okay,
Murphy on Discord real quick. I'll shout out that female reporter too, who took a bite out of the hot
yeah,
pancake he
kudos,
pulled out of his baseball
right?
pants. That is,
Kudos to her for not
she's
clearly
committed.
not being a germaphobe, and that's the first comment I see is props to the reporter for playing along. That
Yeah.
pancake came right from that man's back pocket. Uh, yeah, but those are the kind of things, and those are the kind of people that you can't. They're not data-driven things. They're inherent to people, and it's one of the things that makes Craig Counsell and Terry Francona and Bob Melvin and and Murph. It's one of the things that makes those guys better than other people because, like I said, these are the dog days. These are the Major League Baseball schedule is an absolute grind, and you're going to be tired. You're going to be dragging ass, but just those little things, those little moments that you can find a way to shake it up, and good managers know how to do that. Clearly, Murph's got a feel for it, and you know, I, and which leads me to I feel like anybody that gets to the postseason, far in the postseason, is going to be managed by somebody I like, I played for, or I respect, which also I think is a cool thing.
It just like you were saying, it's a vibes thing. Like
Yeah.
it's not analytical Moneyball sort of assessment. Andrew Vaughn was the guy I was trying to think of pre-show who had his issues in Chicago, never really was like a mainstay, even though despite being a 4th overall pick. He comes to Milwaukee, has played 28 games, and in 100 at bats is batting .340 with 32 ribbies and 8 home runs. Just it's one of those things where you see runs like that. Oh, they just tied the game. Nope, thought the Mets just tied it. Never mind. But it's one of those things where everything they touch, like even this guy who was a problem in the locker room apparently in Chicago and didn't really care about baseball, suddenly comes to this team, gets around the vibe it's fun to play baseball again, and everyone is enjoying it. Every guy's pitching, and Wilson Contreras is making comments about.
That's why when you look at trade deadline moves and you look at drafting and you look at the data and the stats, there's those factors that you have to factor in that you can't quantify. Paul Goldschmidt going to the Yankees. I said the day that happened, he's going to have a great year because there are certain players, number one, talent-wise, who the second you start to bet against them, they're like, really, you don't think I can do this? And they don't get challenged like that a lot. And those great young players, I don't know why he wasn't as good as he was in Chicago, but Murph figured out how to give him. And that's the thing. Major League managers, and I said this earlier, very early in the podcast, our podcast, one of the first episodes. Major League managers aren't about hitting and run and X's and O's and sabermetrics versus gut feel. They're about kind of babysitting 25 guys and putting those guys mentally in the best position to succeed, and becomes much more people driven than stat driven, and it drives sabermetrics people crazy because they can't quantify it. And
let me ask you it this way: did you learn anything or gain any new respect for your managers coaching your kids?
No, you were
at
never
times not with us personally. I'm saying with dealing with personalities and dealing with other kids and the relationship you have to have as the manager or the coach at the time. Like there are certain boundaries that you can and cannot cross as a.
But I always came from. I was always a very coachable guy, and I always had an immense amount of respect for coaches and managers and treated them with respect until they did otherwise. And generally, I never had an issue with coaches treating. I had coaches that treated me different. But for the most part, my managers respected me. I respected them because I did my job. I was somebody that they knew they could rely on to do all the things I needed to do to be as good as I could be. They needed to spend time that they might have spent with me with somebody else, with this player who needs to be nurtured, who needs to know he's important, and that there's only 24 hours in a day, so the manager has to allocate his time based on his personalities. The more presence, veteran presence you have in your clubhouse, the less time you spend doing those little things, the more time you spend playing cards with your players. Tito played cards with Dustin Pedroia. They played cribbage every day of the season because Tito could afford to be away from the players and not have to worry about who was saying what about who. And remember, he managed some really tough markets where the media was part of the issue. And then he had me, which didn't make it any easier because, I could blow the media up and turn something into a story, at the drop of a dime. Yeah, a lot of respect for those guys, always.
Yeah, I was also thinking just in your career, because I always forget, you had Tito at the younger end and then at the later end of your career.
I had Tito in his first game. I had
Yeah.
Tito in his first playoffs. I had Tito in his first World Series. You know, our careers were intertwined for a long time, and that was turned out to be a good thing for me.
So then, from that perspective, talking about him for a little bit, because he was on that list, that short list of teams that I think has a chance to sneak in. Still, they're half game back of the Mets, who are about to lose another game, and I think they'll jump at least to tied with them in the wild card standings. Regardless, the Mets. The Reds had that 8-1 lead they blew today, and they're in this playoff wild card run. Maybe I understand what you would say. You know, you'd rather just wash that one away and move on. Is there, for Tito specifically, does he have any message for the room after a
So
game like that?
I can sum up Tito in one short story, and it's why he has always been as good as he is. And I've told this story a bunch of times, and you may have heard it a couple times, but the press conference, in Boston, we had a media room above the clubhouse where everybody did their post game, and we had just gotten beat 19-6 in Game 3 of the playoffs by the Yankees.
19-8.
Yeah, 19-8. We're down 3-0, and it's it's exactly how you think it is in the clubhouse, and a lot of times we had TVs in the clubhouse, and we had the live feed to the press room. And he sits down, and the first question was from a female reporter, I think, and she said something to the effect of, what are you going to do now? And he's like, looks at her kind of incredulous, like, what kind of question is that? He goes, well, these guys are going to show up tomorrow, and they're going to play their asses off. And I could feel my body just drain. Like, he simplified everything. We're down 3-0. We've lost this many runs, blah, blah, blah. None of that had anything to do with we have to play Game 4 tomorrow. And for me, and we had a team meeting after that. One of the things I said in the meeting was, guys, this isn't about winning 4 in a row or winning 3 in a row or 2 in a row. It's not even about winning the Game 4. It's about going out and winning the top half of the first. Focus on the pitches and the at-bats. Win the micro game. For 2 weeks straight, we had 25 guys bought in, obviously an incredibly talented team. And we win Game 4. All the pressure's now on the Yankees. 100%. None on us.
Yep.
Because this was business as usual. We win Game 5. We won Game 7 after winning Game 6. We knew we were going to win Game 7, and you could just tell by everything going on. And to me, it all started right there when he just said, what do you mean? We're going to show up and play tomorrow. And sometimes we get inundated and bashed in the head with the negative. Oh my God, you're down 3-0. None of the things they were arguing about had any relevance to Game 4 tomorrow. We played 4 straight winner go home games, and we won every one.
Don't let us win tonight.
Yeah. And
then we got PD tomorrow. Shill Game 6, Game 7. Anything can happen.
Yep.
And pow,
like I said,
Sox Nation.
We knew we were after Game 6. I mean, our clubhouse, it wasn't nervous. Oh my God, we're going to play Game 7. We're like, oh my God, we're going to come back and beat them and have the greatest comeback ever.
I look back on that as a kid, and I could not feel more arrogant about any point, because I listened to you and I drank your Kool-Aid straight. That I believed it hook, line, and sinker. I had no doubt once I realized you were going to be able to pitch, and you confidently said to us, like, I'm going to do what I do. It was like, oh, okay, so who are we playing in the World Series?
Yeah. No, that was our World Series. That was our World Series.
Oh, yeah. I think it was the whole world's World Series at that point.
Yeah. So.
Anything else?
No, cool. Guess
we got
my
one
teammate.
We got one more question.
One more question. Go ahead. Yeah.
So this comes from Tim Palmer last episode. If you were a relatively unknown new starting pitcher in the league, were opponents able to get film on you? And when did that start?
Right around my generation is when it started. And I know that because I used to, anytime I would have a team I was going to play my next start that had a call up or a new player, I would get with our minor league scouts and get a scouting report from them and get video pulled from them. But that's a relatively new thing and a huge advantage, because I wanted to see his stats from AAA and get a feel for swing percentages. And if I could watch video, that was all I needed, because, obviously if I'm watching video, I need to see him facing a power right-hander. doesn't do me any good to watch a kid in AAA facing a soft throwing lefty. I want to get a feel, but now, yes, you can get video of anybody anywhere, and I would argue it's one of the most underappreciated, underutilized tools to the degree it should be used in the game today.
I mean, you had laptops that were
Dude,
literally just hard
I spent
drives.
$25,000 in 1993 to have a guy create a piece of software that I could. He would tape my game, cut my game, edit it, and send me the DVD overnight. And I'd have it the next day. And
Yeah.
so by the end of my
Cutting
career,
edge.
well, yeah, back then, but by the end of my career, I had every pitch of every at bat that I had ever thrown. So
That's
like the night before 0-1, Game 7, I was getting ready to sit down and watch the Yankees one last time, and I watched the first like 3 pitches of Jeter, and I was like, you know what? I know
I'm
exactly
good.
what I'm going to do tomorrow. I've seen him, and so I turned it off and went to bed.
The one of these times we'll have to pull out some of your notebooks from wherever the hell they are at
Yeah.
Pop's house.
Yep.
All right, you ready to guess teammate? All right. We got guess your teammate with a former teammate of my dad's. 5 clues here, ranging from hardest to easiest. We had, I think Damon was last time, right?
Was it? Yeah. It was somebody
Damon,
like that.
who
Yeah.
could have won that Game 7 on his own with his own bat.
I still say that picture of him is AI generated.
I don't want to talk about it 2 episodes in a row. I feel bad. That's how bad.
No, I'm not.
All right. So first clue. I played 8 short seasons, playing just over 100 games a year on average for my career with the Reds, Pirates, and Red Sox. A little more specific than that first clue usually is.
I might
'cause
get this on the first one.
You could. Never a... No, I'm not helping you, actually.
No, don't help me. Okay, go ahead. Next one.
I won back-to-back Gold Gloves in 1999-2000 as a second baseman.
Pokey Reese.
Pokey Reese. I was gonna say that's it was funny you were talking about we were just ironically talking about earlier this show, like glue guys and guys who, they're not David Ortiz or Manny Ramirez, but they are absolutely essential down the stretch of runs like this. Pokey Reese, talk about, the guy who made the last out of the ALCS.
My image of Pokey is him fielding the ground ball from Ruben Sierra for the final out of the 07. Yep. Dude could
Silky.
pick it. Could pick it.
He made playing infield look fun.
Great, and one of the kindest, softest souls you ever want to meet. Just a phenomenal, phenomenal human being.
And an all-time baseball name, Pokey Reese.
Yes.
What a name.
Absolutely. All right, good one. All right, Sunday.
Back on Sunday.
For you guys, we're growing, dude. We're growing. Audience is getting bigger. Please hit subscribe, like. We're gonna start working in a third person at some point here soon. We actually might do a live show or two. I'd love to do something live to bring viewers in to do live real-time Q&A and whatnot. We may even work it around to come around sometime to be able to watch a game together live in the postseason with people sitting in with us or something. So send your questions in, and G will take care of them. You guys, G, I'll talk to you. By the way, what's the big news?
Yeah, so we are officially having the baby next weekend. I'll say weekend. We don't know when, but
right.
Friday night we'll be going in. So we will get a podcast up probably Friday night, and then up in the air if we'll see you Sunday or Tuesday, guys. So.
Yep, they're gonna induce. I'm saying she pops before then, though. It always happens that way.
We'll see. But
thoughts and prayers, buddy. And I'll love you. I'll talk to you on Sunday.
Talk to you on Sunday, guys. Thanks for listening.
All right.